All right, this is Sam Bonsey here with my sister, Kourtney Bonsey. She is the head coach of Regis track and field and cross country, which is in Weston, Massachusetts. She's been coaching there for 4 years now. And Kourtney, she graduated from Falmouth in 2008, where she ran under Jorma Curry and Danny Paul. And then she ran at Maine, had some great highlights there, finished fourth in the 10K her senior year. Ran 18:05 for the 5K, ran 37:48 in the 10K that day. And now you're coaching. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I just want to ask you first and foremost, obviously this has been such a weird time for college coaches. Your season gets cut short. I guess, how are you adapting to the situation that the pandemic has kind of given you right now?
Yeah, it's definitely been challenging, and I think it's been about 2 months now since the season was officially canceled and we weren't able to be on campus. So that the first few weeks, those were really challenging because there was so much emotion with the athletes and just trying to calm them down and getting used to this new normal of everything being online, working from home. As a coach, it's a little different. You usually see so many people every day, used to seeing your team. So that was a little bit challenging, just a little bit more isolated. But with my athletes, the big thing when this all happened was just making sure that they were okay and that they were able to adjust to the online learning. So what we've done as a team is a lot of individual phone call check-ins, but we also use every Friday to be a big team Zoom meeting. And that's really worked out well for us. My assistant coaches and I were trying to decide between would we do a full team with Zoom, would we do separate men and women. But we kind of decided that full team Zoom was really what would work best for us. And it's great because the athletes get on and they're so excited to see everyone and see the coaches. So that's been our new normal of communication. And really just, again, keeping up with them, checking in. The semester just finished last week, so they have a little bit more time now. So trying to make sure that they're just settling in and doing all the right things. And then social media has been a big thing for us too, just trying to make sure we stay up with that. So that's kind of what it looks like for the past 2 months, I guess.
And so when the news first hit, when you're talking to specifically your seniors, like how tough was that for you just to kind of break that news, and like what was their reaction like telling that specific group?
Yeah, that was definitely very challenging. We just pulled the team together. It was a Friday afternoon, and we knew the season was going to be over. So I pulled my assistants in and said, hey, let's just try to do a quick or an ode to the seniors in this meeting. And I had no idea how that was going to go, but that was pretty emotional. We told the team all together. We didn't tell the seniors separately. But the team kind of knew, and the seniors knew, as soon as they saw the email, a mandatory team meeting, they had a feeling with all the news, and the seniors looked pretty solemn walking into that meeting. That was probably my least favorite moment as a coach, just having to walk into a very silent, sad room and telling athletes that their careers were done for the season. And for seniors that they were done for the rest of their collegiate career. So that was definitely tough, but it's pretty cool to see how we've come along these past 2 months, and my communication with the seniors has continued, and their perspective has become much more positive. So it's really nice to see that growth since then.
So actually, I kind of want to go back a little bit to when you first started coaching. What was that transition like from being an athlete to a coach, where you're learning from, you had Danny Paul and Jorma Curry in high school, you had Mark Leck at Maine. Danny Paul and Jorma are two of the best coaches in the state of Maine. Mark Leck has had so much success. Like, was there anything that you kind of picked up on them that you've been using during your time at Regis?
Yeah, I was very lucky to have fantastic coaches in high school and then in college. So Mark Leck was my head coach in college, but I had Ryan Herkler, who is the head coach at USM now. I had him for a year, my freshman year, and he had a huge impact on me. He worked primarily with the distance runners, and really kind of built my confidence up in that event, because I was not a standout in high school, and I came into college as, I was recruited, but I wasn't anything special. So he really built my confidence, and I kind of that's kind of a big part of my coaching, is building that confidence in athletes, which I got from all of those coaches. Jorma Curry and Danny Paul were fantastic, and I look back on their personality that they brought to coaching every day, and their kindness. And Jorma Curry is a math teacher, so his number crunching and his stats and everything he knew, I take a lot of that from them. And going to practice every day in high school was being around family, kind of like that. So they really built a strong team culture, and I really take that approach in my training, and then transitioning to college. As I mentioned, having Park, as we called him, my freshman year, building that confidence is a key takeaway that I took from him. And then Mark Leck, he was pretty hard on me from the start, even as someone who just wasn't really much of a college runner to start. And I really have him to thank for my success in college. I mean, again, I really was not a standout in high school, and he just didn't let me, really settle for being mediocre, and really pushed me, which was really cool. And it was a totally different approach to coaching with Mark Leck than it was in high school, and I think I really needed that. He was a coach who just, you really had to go up to him if you wanted, just any questions or anything. You really had to go to him, and he had an approach of, again, being pretty hard on us. And our workouts were always really hard, and I love that about Leck. I wish I had some of his edge sometimes, but I definitely kind of take that. And he had so much knowledge about running, and that was part of what got me into coaching. Was my last 2 years at Maine. I would just stay around after practice and just ask Mark a lot of questions, because he always seemed to know so much. And I would just kind of hang around. Probably should have been doing homework, but would just hang around and talk with him. And he really kind of got me really interested, just through those little chats after practice, in coaching.
So with that, because you grew up you did all distance events in high school and in college, just those conversations with Mark, did that kind of help kind of ease that transition to kind of knowing more about, because you're the head coach of the track and field team, so you're responsible for handling your athletes for all across every event. So did those conversations really help, and how did that transition help you?
Yeah, so Mark was great to start, and I still keep in contact with him, and he's been a fantastic resource. But also, right after college, I was GA at Regis for 2 years, and the head coach there, he's probably the best mentor I've had, and I have him to thank for my coaching success. But I really learned a lot from him, and he really made sure that I learned about the sport of track and field. Regis is a smaller Division III school. At the time, we didn't have the resources to have a bunch of coaches. So Coach Dan Flynn coached events that he hadn't done in college, and I really learned a lot from him there. He just read everything he could about track and field, called coaches, did everything he could. I've never seen a coach work so hard to learn so much about their coaching. So that was really helpful. I really pulled from him. And then when I did start at Regis, I was coaching sprints and hurdles and jumps. And it's a lot of just reading and learning and talking to other coaches. And I've noticed that in the coaching world, that the coaches are very open to offering their knowledge and their training. So that's been really helpful. But Dan Flynn was a huge part of that process.
And you've had some immediate success since taking over, and obviously with Dan, when you started out, a women's cross country title. He got a couple outdoor track titles as well. And, when you see that success so early, like, what does that do for you with your personal confidence and your ability to kind of to coach, basically, I guess?
Yeah, that success early on was great. I think, I was a first year head coach, and, I really inherited a team. I didn't, that was Dan Flynn's recruiting. But that was really, really cool to win that in my first year where, first year head coach, had no idea what I was doing, to be completely honest, and relied on my two assistants at the time who had already been with the program for a year. But it was great, and I don't think it gave me a false sense of confidence because as a young coach, my confidence was already so low, just trying to learn. So that was really cool to win that championship with the women's team the first year, and they were so dominant, and just everything kind of came together and really clicked well with that team. And then the track championships after that, those took a little bit of time, just bringing in more of a recruiting class. So yeah, I wouldn't say it changed my confidence. It just made me more excited. And I realized, okay, I'm setting the tone here. I definitely have to, continue to get better.
And so kind of going back to this now new normal of coaching, I want to talk to you about a little bit of recruiting. There's obviously no high school. And, I feel like it's one thing to maybe see some kid like Milesplit run a good time as like a sophomore or whatever, or jump well in the long jump or whatever. But it's another thing to actually like go to the meet, maybe see like, in addition to runner, how smooth that stride is. Like, what's been that kind of adjustment there? Just not being able to go to meets and just kind of not really. I feel like there's just a lot of unknown right now.
Yeah, it's definitely challenging, and a huge part of my recruiting platform is going out to meets and seeing recruits and trying to be as present as possible. So that's been challenging, but the one positive is I have a lot of time right now to reach out to recruits. I'm not doing everything I normally would outside of the pandemic. So my assistants and I have been just getting on the phone with recruits every day, and talking to juniors, and that's been really helpful. Of course, not being able to see them is challenging, but this is kind of around the time where we'd be doing those initial contacts, and we would be having them on campus for unofficial visits. But Regis has done a fantastic job with sending out their virtual tour. The admissions department has information sessions, so there's a ton of resources right now that I'm able to send out to those recruits. So it's a lot of phone calls and text messages and emails. It's definitely a lot different, but being able to have that time in the day to call recruits and continue to check in, it's actually kind of opened that up a little bit for us. I'm not going to practice, or I'm not doing other things in the office that I normally would. So I keep telling my assistants, take advantage of this. We have, all the time in the world to call recruits and build connections with them. So if I can find one positive out of it, it's that, being able to talk to recruits a little bit more.
Yeah, I mean, we certainly obviously have a lot of time on our hands now. And,
yeah.
And I want to thank you again for doing this interview. And before I let you go, actually, I do want to mention that you're obviously a very successful road racer yourself, qualified for the Boston Marathon, have a couple half marathon wins under your belt. Obviously, you battled some injuries in the past, obviously, but it seems like you're kind of getting back into the swing of things. And I guess with this time now, how has your own training been going lately?
I've been battling a hip injury, so it hasn't been great during this time. So I've been doing a lot of cross training. I went and bought a stationary bike when this all started, so I've been able to do that from my apartment. But I've been getting back in the last few weeks. I've been feeling a little bit better, so just getting back into running. But it's also nice to have a little extra time to focus on those little exercises that I don't always have time for when I'm in season, or when there's not a pandemic going on. So that's been helpful to focus on that. But my training really isn't much of anything. I ran a pretty solid marathon in the fall, and after that just got pretty injured. So just trying to get back into it. Now the weather's getting nicer, so definitely itching to run a little bit more.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you again for giving me your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me.